What is up, everyone? It's the Golden Centurion here, back at it again for another video. So today, guys, I am bringing you my ITL draft recap. So the ITL is a non-upload league. It is ran by Aki VGC. He's a good pal of mine, and it's an insane league. It's really fun, good community, friends with almost all of them in there. We have trivia Wednesdays on every day but Wednesday, and that's just how we roll in there. The competition's really insane. You got some insane players such as all of the Mount Rushmore goats. You have Sebi, you have Phantom Bass, and a bunch of other good friends in there. Um, I was introduced into the ITL last season when I can't remember his name, but someone dropped out, and then Gypsy brought me in as a replacement coach, and I did all right. I took over a draft that was like 0-4, -20 differential, and I think after that I went 500, but didn't make playoffs or anything, and wasn't too happy with the team. So it feels good now to be able to draft my own team and shape it the way I want to and have a completely fresh season at 0-0. So the ITL is not a draft load required league, but I'll be doing my best to get um, videos up as often as I can, as it's just something I enjoy doing. But anyways, guys, let's go ahead and jump right into the Mons. So I had probably the fourth or fifth pick on a wheel between 12 coaches. So I was pretty early up, which meant I got to have some pretty cool Mons. And the very first pick I went with was Megalopony. Now, this Mon's a beast. As you guys can see, you guys all know Megalopony. It's one of the most common megas out there. It has a really insane speed stat of 135, outspeeding almost the entirety of the Mons. The only things that it doesn't usually outspeed are things like Mega Aerodactyl, Mega Sceptile, let's see, Excelgor is out there. But just usually a bunch of random Mons. But for the most part, it outspeeds the entirety of everyone. And it can even outspeed some Choice Scarfers. So that speed stat's great and something that I can work with. And then it's also really well known for its attack. But let's see, move pool wise, we are rocking out with. Usually it runs two of its priorities in Fake Out or Quick Attack, and then after that it has its fighting coverage of either High Jump Kick or Drain Punch, depending. It has its normal coverage of Return, and then it usually runs something like the Elemental Punches, Fire Punch, Thunder Punch, Ice Punch. It has a little bit of trickery with its kind of like an encore set. If you have a fast thing and you can encore something into rocks, you can get off a quick endeavor. I know there is the power up punch for setup. It has agility for setup. And another cool set that I've seen ran is the power up punch into its, what is that move? Last Resort. Yeah. So Last Resort is a move that it has to be, every other move has to be ran already. So you can do power up punch into Last Resort or Fake Out into Last Resort. And this works really well if they don't have the best steel type. And it's just a really versatile Mon that's a great offensive threat and really easy to work around. It also has the ability of Scrappy, which means there is no immunities to this. Like, Ghost usually is immune to normal and fighting, but with Scrappy I can hit Ghosts. However, what this Mon struggles against is bulky Psychics, as well as flying types and probably fighting types, but it can handle fighting types as long as they don't have the best priority. But the main thing is bulky Psychics. And that's why I went with my next Mon, Crocodile. Now, it's pretty early to get Crocodile, second round of a draft. I'm aware of that. But it's a great Mon. And Crocodile is a very versatile Mon. It's pretty bulky, which surprises a lot of people with 95 HP, 80 defense, 70 special defense, but the ability of Intimidate makes its defense even better. Its speed stat is great with 92. Choice Scarf, it outspeeds almost everything. And 92 can outspeed those things a little bit slower than it. It's kind of pesky when you're going up against base 100s, and it has a really good attack stat of 117. Ability-wise, you usually run Intimidate or Moxie. Now, its move pool is great. Well, it's good. So, right away, it gives me a Stealth Rocker, which is very valuable. Okay, Stealth Rocks. There we go. You always want a Stealth Rocker. You want multiple Stealth Rockers, and Stealth Rocks are especially great with Lopunny, as Lopunny can come close to one-shot in a lot of things, so it's nice to get some hazard chip on him. But move pool wise, it is also that Dark type that I mentioned, so it can deal with those bulky Psychics. It has great Ground Stab and Earthquake. I know it has access to some fighting coverage, some rock coverage, um, Fire Fang. Does it get Ice Fang? I believe it does. Nope. Okay, it does not get Ice Fang. Good to know. But Aqua Tail for some other, if it's going up against other ground types. But for the most part, it's just an offensive threat that can go ahead and get up rocks. Item-wise, some of the most common ones are Choice Scarf. There's the Choice Bands. I tend to run Leftovers a lot, especially if I'm a rock set. And something else that's pretty cool is that it can run Taunt. I've seen a speedy Taunt Stealth Rock leads a lot. And mainly it's varied as it backs up my Mega Lopunny as it can punish those bulky Psychics. So next up I got Metagross. And Metagross is probably my favorite mon to use in draft format. Like, hands down, one of my favorites. So I had to go for it. And another reason why I went this early, as you guys are probably thinking, what are you doing? Crocodile round 2, Metagross round 3. But this league, we decided to allow Magearna, and Metagross is great against Magearna. It can check it almost 100% of the time. We allowed that Poison Dragon Ultra Beast, I'm not even going to try and pronounce. So needed Metagross for that. Its fire coverage is annoying, but as you guys will see, I get something for the fire. We also allow Tapu Lele, which Metagross is probably the best Tapu Lele counter out there, barring its Shadow Ball, so just maybe a berry for that. And we allowed a couple other threats that Metagross just walled up really well against. And it's just a great mon in general with 80 HP, 135 attack, 130 defense, 90 special defense, and 70 base speed. So its speed stat's really low, but I generally never run speed on my Metagrosses unless I have to outspeed something. But I never really try to outspeed anything. I usually just rely on a bulkier set. But item-wise, Clear Body's alright. I mean, I don't get intimidated and I don't get, like, pesky drops. But item-wise, usually you see Assault Vest, you see Leftovers, Shuka Berry, Colbur Berry, Life Orb, Choice Band. Just a number of different items. Like, this is probably one of the most versatile mons out there. Move pool wise, it gives me another Stealth Rocker, which is great. Takes a little pressure off of Crocodile. Its move pool is insane, guys. Like, it has its Stab and Meteor Mash and Zen Headbutt. Then you have Ice Punch, Thunder Punch, Power Up Punch. It has Pursuit if you're trying to trap them. Rock Slide, which is really nice. So just a bunch of different move pool wise. And then it has the little bit more cheekier tactic sets where you can run things such as Substitute. You can go, if you're feeling a tad bit more cheeky, what is the set that I was looking at earlier today? Was actually debating it for one of my matches. It has really good setup in Rock Polish, which I didn't really... Well, I knew it gets because I use Mega Metagross, but a lot of people don't know that it gets Rock Polish. Like, I've gone up against numerous people and I bring the Rock Polish set and tends to catch them off guard, so that's pretty cool. And as I mentioned, with these things base 135 attack, if you get this thing speedy, it's just completely going to demolish things. It also has really great priority in Bullet Punch, which is Stab, which is really nice. But it's just an overall bulky mon. So I have, looking at my team right now, it can also, this mon fills the role of another Stealth Rocker. It gives me a flying resist that Lopunny doesn't really like. It's adding a little bit more bulk to it as well, and as I mentioned, Mega Lopunny doesn't like Psychics. Metagross can take on almost all Psychics. It also gave me a wall to some of the bigger threats in the current game. So next up, I went and got Tapu Fini. So Tapu Fini is one of the new Tapus, and it, of course, has its Misty Terrain. So I really liked it for its Misty Terrain, as a lot of the time, people try and status Lopunny. They go for a Will-O-Wisp on it, or a Thunder Wave trying to cripple it. And I could just use that as a free switch into my Tapu Fini. It's rocking out with 70 HP, 115 defense, 130 special defense, and 95 special attack. So a really bulkier mon to go with some of his previous offense that I got. It's usually ran with Leftovers almost 100% of the time. I've also ran it with some Resist Berries, but for the most part, it's a Leftovers mon. Item-wise, it has some pretty cool tech with with setup with Calm Mind, so it's kind of a setup mon. Has Moonblast, Ice Beam, Surf, Scald, but I won't run Scald, I'll run Surf. Nature's Madness, so automatically I can cut him on HP down to health, down to half. And it just serves as a really bit of a bulkier wall. It has Haze, so you can't set up on me, and I have Defog to get rid of some of the hazards. But Its main role is that of a bulky type as well as a fairy type, which is always nice as you want an immunity to dragon, but it mainly just serves to be a bulkier mon. Next up, I got a mon that is very pivotal to this team. So as I mentioned, Megalopony can destroy teams once I get a little bit of hazards up, and no other mon does that better than Roserade. Um, Roserade has access to spikes. It has access to toxic spikes. So that right away is wearing your team down. So when you have two Stealth Rockers as well as one of the best spikes and toxic spike setters in the game, that goes really, really well with Megalopony. Now, its stats are not the best, not the worst. 60 HP, which is a little weak. Attack's irrelevant. Defense is really low. Special attack is really high, actually, and its special defense is pretty good. And then not a bad speed stat. So looking at my team, like Crocodile can be a physical wall with Intimidate. Metagross is really bulky on the physical side. Tapu Fini is pretty bulky, and that kind of compensates for Roserade's a little bit of lack of bulk. However, don't mistake this thing as it can be a bulkier mon. You throw on some Black Sludge, have Synthesis, and Leech Seed, and you're getting a lot of recovery. But its main role for me will be to set up hazards, as hazard will be key for me. It really helps out Megalopony, helps out the next mon that I'm going to reveal. But so that's its main role. However, what it can also do is serve as a cleric with aromatherapy, and also it has Leech Seed, so I can be getting recovery to my Tapu Fini, which is a wall that doesn't have recovery, so that's always nice. And also has some nice stabs with Grass and Poison Stab. But that's mainly it. Kind of straightforward mon. Come in here, maybe wall a little bit, get some Leech Seeds off, but mostly for hazards. Also, something I didn't mention is Tapu Fini's terrain prevents any status, correct? However, if toxic spikes are up, they will get poisoned before they enter the terrain. So if I have toxic spikes on my opponent's field and I have Misty Terrain up, no matter what, they will still be getting toxic, which is really cool and creates some really nice synergy. So another mon that really appreciates mons being chipped down is this huge special breaker of Thunderous Theron. Now, I've used Thunderous a lot. One of my favorite mons to use, both Thundi T and Thundi I. Its HP is alright, its attack's irrelevant, its defenses are pretty weak. A really nice 101 speed stat, which allows me to outspeed the base 90s as well as the Pixies at base 100, and a monster 145 special attack stat. It's insane. Move pool wise, it's great. You have things such as your Double Dance, where you have agility as well as Nasty Plot. And then coverage wise, it has things such as Flash Cannon to punish the fairies. It has Sludge Wave if they have a grass and a fairy. Dark Pulse for those psychic types that are annoying for my Lopunny. It has obviously electric coverage, but has fighting coverage as well with Focus Blast. And what else? It has Psychic, which can be pretty cool. And also has Momentum with U-Turn and Volt Switch. And Momentum is something I was kind of lacking, so it was really nice to grab that, as I can pivot into my bulkier mons, which I have a bunch of. However, I decided to go ahead and make this mon my Z move. One of my Z captains, you get two. They just can't be in the same tier. So that means is I will be blowing things back with my Gigavolt Havoc using my base 145 special attack stat. And I won't be missing my Focus Blasts if I use the Focus Blast. So that's really cool. So looking at my first 6 picks, I am extremely happy. Looking at the special physical split, I have 3 physical attackers and 3 special attackers. I was also really excited to get Thunderous in the 6th round. I didn't expect it to drop, but it did. Looking at the synergy-wise, Lopunny is a great physical breaker. Thunderous is a great special breaker. I have 2 Stealth Rock users, one of the best Spikes user, a Defogger. I have my Fairy type and my Steel type, missing a Dragon type. Have a Grass type and a Water type, missing a Fire type. And I got my Ground type, which is an electric immunity, and I got my Volt Absorb user, which is another electric immunity. And I'm really happy with the Steel type that I do have. Looking at my team, fighting was a little annoying when I had Lopunny and Crocodile and Metagross, as my Psychic type didn't resist it. However, fighting became less of a threat once I got a Fairy type, a Poison type, and a Flying type. So that's really cool. So yeah, I really like the synergy that's going on with my team. Speed tiers wise is something I have to acknowledge, however, as I have base 70, then a base 85, which isn't too bad. Might want to get something in between that though. From 85, I go up to my 90 with Rose Raid and then 92 with Crocodile, which is really good as it doesn't leave much room for air. Then straight from 92 to 101 with Thunderous, which is great as there's very few mons within that tier. But then after Thunderous, I jump all the way up to my Mega Lopunny at 135, and that's a speed tier that I'm going to have to patch. So that's what I'm going to do for my next 6 picks. So, leading off the next round is Lycanroc Dusk. Lycanroc Dusk is easily one of my favorite mons now. I love using this monster. It's insane, guys. Like, the amount of work that this mon puts in, match out, it's ridiculous. I don't understand how people still have this thing at tier 3. But they do, and I love it, and I abuse it all the time. Defenses, horrible. HP, horrible. Attack and speed, amazing. So, base 110 speed stat, it's great. You outspeed base 100s. Not many things that are faster than it, and it speed ties with the 110s. 110 attack stat, or 117 attack stat's really good. Can pressure a lot of things. However, the best thing about this mon is its Tough Claws. So Tough Claws is the exact same thing that Charizard X has. Any physical contact moves gets a 1.3 boost. So I basically get a Life Orb boost on my 117 attack stat for free, just using my ability. I can still chip on a Choice Band, and then I have basically 1.8 times my moves, and if it's Stab, it's 1.8 plus 1.5, 2.3 times. Life Orb is insane, Expert Belt is great, Focus Sash is great. So let's see, some of the roles that this mon works is, it can be a Swords Dance sweeper. You have Swords Dance, you have Drill Run, which makes contact, Stone Edge, sadly, which doesn't, but is stab enough. A number of fighting coverages, such as Brick Break. It gets things such as the Elemental, I know it gets Thunder Fang and Fire Fang. Has Steel coverage for the bulkier fairies, Outrage if you have a Dragon type, and Zen Headbutt, which is really nice for the poison types like Mega Venusaur when I go against that. And the other set that I actually really love running is you have Stealth Rock lead. Why am I down here? Give me a second. Oh, I put AT, that's why. So you have your you have a Stealth Rock lead, you have Taunt to prevent hazards, you run a Focus Sash generally, and then you have Endeavor and Excel Rock. So this set is one of the best sets, I believe, for this mon, as you take a Focus Sash hit, you get your rocks up, and then you can Endeavor them really low. Or if you want to predict, you Endeavor really low, as they bring you low, and then you pick them off with Excel Rock. And Excel Rock is something I didn't mention. It's probably one of the best moves out there. Rock Stab is insanely good and underrated in the format. How many mons are weak to Stealth Rocks? This mon can punish them. Excel Rock gets Tough Claws boosted, so that base 40 turns higher because of Stab and Tough Claws. So it actually hits things insanely well. Like, after Rocks, it comes close depending on your item and your investment. It can almost one-shot a Salamence. It can almost one-shot a Thunderous. It can two-shots, just using Excel Rock, two-shot a Tapu Koko. Just the amount of things that this thing can offensively pressure is insane, and I really love using Lycanroc. Sorry I went on about that mon, but one of my favorites. So, with these next 4 picks, I just decided I'd have some fun. I'll probably end up dropping them in favor of bulk, as I'm lacking a little bit of dedicated bulk, and like Wish Passers and stuff, but I decided I'd draft mons that I haven't used, and as well as mons I love using. So first up, we got Noivern. Lycanroc also patched a hole in that 1 speed tier, and then Noivern closes out the hole. So Noivern is 123 base speed, which is insanely high, but then the rest of its stats are average. Base 85 HP, which isn't bad, 80 defenses, which is decent, and then 95 special defense, which means it's not hitting the hardest. Ability-wise, it has Infiltrator if I want to go through the substitute. Frisk, which is really cool as it tells me their item. But for the most part, I'll be running either a Choice Scarf to confirm I'm the fastest thing on the field, or I will be Choice Specs or Life Orb to hit a little bit harder. Move-wise, I'm running U-Turn for momentum, Dragon coverage with Draco Meteor, Air Slash, and it gets access to things such as Heat Wave, Boom Burst, and it's another defogger, but for the most part, Heat Wave, Boom Burst, um, and U-Turn for the most part. Can run some cheekier taunt and toxic sets as well as switcheroo. So it's a pretty cool mon that I'm looking forward to trying out. Also, what I forgot to mention is Lycanroc is one of my Z users. That'll kind of help me with the Stone Edge. Now, Delphox, it's something I wanted to try. I didn't have a fire type, so I figured might as well grab it. Um, it's base 104 speed, which is nice. 114 special attack, which is nothing to sleep on. Defenses are average. And it just gives me a fire and another psychic type. It's always nice to have two psychic types, but it can be a calm mind sweeper, as well as just kind of punch holes with that 114 special attack. It gives me a screen user as well, but for the most part, it has fire coverage, ghost coverage, psychic coverage, bug coverage, and then it has V's with, it is a wish passer, however, probably not the best since it's weak to rocks, but it also has access to toxic, trick, and will-o-wisp. So next up is a mon that I love using, Dusknoir. For those of you guys who've known me a while, it's one of my favorite mons to use. Really low HP stat, pretty good attack, insane defenses, and a really slow. But I tend to use Frisk, so I know what item I'm dealing with. It usually runs Assault Vest or Leftovers or Rocky Helmet. Has access to Pain Split. Shadow Sneak for priority, Earthquake, the Elemental Punches, Haze so they can't set up on me, Memento, Pursuit, Rock Slide, you name it, this mon's got it. It's just a really good bulky mon. It's a spin blocker, which, as you guys can see from my team, I really heavily rely on hazards, so having spin blocker is really nice for me. And, yeah, as I will want to keep my rocks up from either Lycanroc, Crocodile, or Metagross, as well as keep my hazards up from my Roserade. So next up is one of my favorite mons of all time, which is Articuno. And by favorite mons of all time, I mean like of all time, not just in draft. Its stats are actually really great around the board with 90 HP, 100 defense, 125 special defense, so pretty bulky. Great speed stat, and pretty good special attack stat. Biggest drawback, of course, is that it's an ice and flying type, which means it's 4 times weak to stealth rocks, which is annoying as my game plan will be to get hazards on their side of the field and then not defog as I want the hazards up. So that's really bad for my Articuno as I'm not trying to get hazards off my field. But it is a pretty cool mon with Aurora Veil, if I ever set up the Hail. Has Ice Shard, Signal Beam, Tailwind, which is pretty cool, some U-Turn Momentum, Ice and Flying Stab, and Haze, so they can't really set up. Just a pretty cool mon and a fun mon that I wanted to try out. Might end up free agenting it, but we'll see. So that is my team, guys. A really cool team, puts on a lot of offensive pressure, of course, with once I get hazards up, Mega Lopunny and Thunder Staring are going to like wreck through teams. Also, Moxie boosting Crocodile can surprise people. Setup Metagross can surprise some people. So, some of the great things I like about my team are my speed tiers, my offensive presence, and the overall synergy I believe is amazing. Some things I dislike about my team are the lack of reliable recovery, as Roserade has some. Articuno has Roost? Yeah, my walls don't have reliable recovery, so that's kind of annoying. A ground resist. I don't have a ground resist. I have ground immunities, but they don't want to come in on rocks, which is really annoying. So I might do some free agents with my lower 4 picks, try and pick up a Wish Passer or a designated like bulkier mon, and definitely want to pick up a Grass Resist. But yeah, guys, this is my team. Really happy with it. My first match will be going up probably later today or after this video, maybe the day after, right after, one of the two. It's going to be a pretty fun match, week 1, to actually be able to use my team that I drafted for a change in the ITL. As I mentioned, the ITL is one of the best leagues out there. It's one of the funnest leagues and a league I really enjoy. So I'm really happy and really looking forward to my week 1 match versus Eric. Um, Best of luck to him. Best of luck to me. Hopefully, we have a nice, clean battle. And that is it, guys. I will catch you guys next time. Peace.